Good evening, I'm Anna Jabłońska. Welcome to Poland Daily. Today, Polish people commemorate their dead during a national holiday called All Saints' Day. Millions of Poles visit graveyards during the day surrounding November 1st to light candles and pray by the graves of their family members.
The All Saints' Day is a special day in Polish tradition. It is a moment to reflect and remember the people that are no longer with us.
Wszystkich świętych.
We honor those who went to heaven, not only those who entered sainthood through the Catholic Church, but also our friends and family members who left us and are watching over us.
Śmierci w naturalny sposób.
Naturally, everyone fears death, but if we are really afraid of it, then I think it is important to ask ourselves a question: are we living in such a way that we should be afraid?
Trzeba się poważnie obawiać.
Historian and guide Bogusław Staroń showed us the graves of people who contributed to Poland regaining its independence with regard to the centenary of the event.
Dlaczego na Rosę?
Here lies Aleksander Prystor, a former Prime Minister, Minister of Labour, Member of Parliament, one of Marshal Józef Piłsudski's favourite associates.
Na których jesteśmy.
All Saints' Day as well as tomorrow's All Souls' Day are primarily a time of prayers for those who departed the earth.
After 2 weeks, LOT Polish Airlines and striking workers have reached an agreement, ending a protest over pay and conditions. Strikers who stopped working in protest against the dismissal of cabin crew trade union leader Monika Żelazik will see her return to work along with all other workers who were fired during the strike.
The meeting between Paweł Borys, the chairman of the Polish Development Fund, and the Employers of Poland chairman Andrzej Malinowski with the representatives of the LOT Polish Airlines board and the protesting employees of the company ended last night at around 2 a.m. Warsaw local time. Paweł Borys stated that he was certain that this strike-ending agreement creates an opportunity of reaching a consensus regarding all contentious issues. The talks continued smoothly and positively, and the disputing parties reached an agreement. We hope the state of affairs in LOT Polish Airlines will return to normal, with both parties managing to establish satisfying salaries conditions in a peaceful atmosphere. The agreement's main points include the end of strike by November 1st and the reinstatement of Monika Żelazik, head of cabin crew trade union, and all other employees released due to the strike, which began on October 18th. Both sides of the argument also signed a bilateral obligation to resolve all further contention points in an amicable way. The board agreed not to pursue any financial claims from the participants of the protest. The board of LOT Polish Airlines also agreed to initiate the procedure of creating a new salary policy beginning November 7th. Furthermore, both parties agreed to maintain a peaceful relationship for the duration of at least 24 months, provided they respect the terms and conditions of the agreement. The 2-week-long strike in LOT Polish Airlines caused the carrier to cancel close to 200 flights and cost the company around 20 million Polish zlotys.
National Museum in Warsaw presents exhibition called Shouting Poland Independence 1918 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Poland regaining independence. Its main objective is to encounter artistic representations of historical and political events with the transformations of Polish art on the threshold of the reborn state. The exhibition Shouting Poland Independence 1918 displays over 300 works showing how Polish artists saw the path to independence. The exhibition compares the historical and political events of the first 2 decades of the 20th century with the changes of Polish art at the beginning of the reborn state. There are also works that have never been shown for almost 100 years, including sculptures depicting Józef Piłsudski, the image of refugee by Jan Rembowski, graphic series by Abel Panna and Wilhelm Wacht, forgotten visions of Stanisław Fabiański, and photographs by Jan Newman. The exhibition, Shouting Poland Independence 1918, crowns the project 3 times independent in the National Museum in Warsaw. The exhibition will be available until March 17th. Russia imposed financial sanctions on Ukraine's political elite, freezing the Russian assets of 100 politicians and officials, along with dozens of businesses owned by Ukraine businessmen.
The sanctions were set out in a decree signed by Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev and were described as counter-sanctions drawn up in response to similar Ukrainian measures against Russian citizens and companies. The decree said 322 individuals and 68 businesses were targeted, including President Petro Poroshenko's son Alexei, presidential contender Yulia Tymoshenko, the head of Ukraine's SBU security service Vasyl Hrytsak, Interior Minister Arsen Avakov, and billionaire tycoon Viktor Pinchuk. Russian decision to introduce sanctions was not unexpected. Except for slightest exceptions, this is a list of highly respected people, including my son, including half of my administration, a lot of members of parliament, majority of coalition members, members of Ukrainian government. Instead of saber-rattling at the front line or introducing sanctions, Russia should do a very simple thing: to get out of Ukraine, to take its troops away, to take its weaponry away, to restore the territorial integrity of Ukraine. Then there will be peace and no need to introduce any sanctions. I think Russia's behavior shows a non-constructive position of the Russian Federation. The sanctions also targeted several listed companies, among them biggest sunflower oil exporter Colonel. The decree said that targeted individuals and firms would have their financial and property assets frozen in Russia and would not be able to repatriate them to Ukraine. Ties between Moscow and Kiev have steadily deteriorated since Russia's 2014 annexation of Ukraine's Crimea and the outbreak of a pro-Russian separatist uprising in eastern Ukraine. Kiev has imposed its own financial sanctions on hundreds of Russian individuals and companies.
Thank you for watching Poland Daily. Coming up next, Poland Daily weather. Good night.